You can go ahead and make this fold before putting it in the machine to make the process easier. Another tip I have for you is not to start right at the very beginning. You leave a bit of space, lift the presser foot, and leave a gap. Why is that, Jorge? Because with this hand here, we're going to pull our mesh. So I'm going to fold it here. Look, this is how I'm going to do it. I'm going to pull, see? We absolutely have to leave a significant gap here as a crucial reference point and then gently pull with the hand, much like you are carefully driving a vehicle. And here, the stitch setting is specifically set to number 2. Okay, just one more time for clarity and confirmation. Let's go over it again, another line here. Let's sew another line again right in the middle. Like I said, always pulling, okay? How many lines should we sew after folding? 4 lines are enough for the mesh to stay nice and secure and really thin. This one here is the last one. We're not going to remove the paper now. Let's apply the glue, finish it, seal it, and then we'll remove the paper. This mesh dries much faster and is much thinner. Notice how it turns out really thin. So it's really suitable for fine, sparse hair for the American tip technique when you just want to fill in the ends. Now let's do the finishing on our mesh. Let's finish up. Let's remove this edge because our mesh doesn't have this edge. So what are we going to do? We're going to carefully and precisely lift it all up here, observing the process, and then gently and accurately cut right here at this specific point, ensuring a clean and effective separation of the material. Precisely at the designated mark, the exact point where our measuring tape concludes its span, that is the precise location where we will definitively cease our operations and leave the current setup as it stands. This specific spot, meticulously identified and carefully measured, represents the final boundary for our work in this particular area. We are ensuring that all efforts conclude at this predetermined point, leaving no room for ambiguity or further adjustments beyond this established limit. The termination of our task at this exact juncture is crucial for maintaining accuracy and adhering to the plan specifications. Therefore, the conclusion of our work will be strictly observed at the precise measurement indicated by the end of the tape, ensuring a clear and final stopping point for this phase of the project. It needs to be really straight, and the thickness has to be even all the way across, so it Good. A really perfect finish. It's done. I believe that the current state of affairs is already quite satisfactory and well executed at this particular juncture. As you can clearly observe, everything appears to be in excellent order and has reached a commendable level of completion. The meticulous efforts invested have yielded a result that is not only functional but also aesthetically pleasing and highly effective. We can confidently affirm that the work has progressed to a point where it meets all the necessary criteria and perhaps even exceeds initial expectations. The current presentation and functionality are indicative of a thorough and successful process, leaving little room for further improvement or modification at this stage. Therefore, it is with a sense of accomplishment and contentment that we can acknowledge the successful culmination of this endeavor, demonstrating a high standard of quality and readiness for its intended purpose. See? Now, what are we going to do? We're going to take a thinner tape and place it really, really close. And this mesh doesn't fray. And for the Mega Red American stitch, the overall finish looks much better and more refined because it sits really, really close to the scalp, providing a very seamless and natural appearance. And on the other side, there's already this existing mesh. If you want, you can certainly add another one here, perhaps a small additional piece, just to further secure it and ensure maximum stability, but that particular step is entirely optional. All right, guys, that concludes this detailed explanation. And now, what are we going to do? We're going to clean our workspace. We're going to apply glue here, and we're going to apply glue here. As we apply the glue, we're going to place the mesh already inside the paper. And now, right here, with a simple brush, let's begin to create. Don't be afraid to use plenty of glue. And here we're sealing, so we're covering up all the little holes left by the stitching so that the thread doesn't end up showing. Only the construction of the mesh will be visible. And let's remove the excess. Now let's flip it over and do the same thing. On this particular side, it is perfectly acceptable and indeed quite all right if the application of the adhesive, the glue itself, appears somewhat uneven, perhaps a bit messy, or even rather rough in its initial appearance. This is because at a later stage in the process, once we proceed to carefully and meticulously remove the protective paper backing, the specific edge that we are currently observing and working on, this very edge right here, will undergo a precise and thorough finishing process. This finishing process is designed to refine and smooth out any imperfections, ensuring that the edge becomes exceptionally neat, incredibly clean, and ultimately remarkably thin, achieving a polished and professional final look that completely conceals any initial roughness of the glue. And now we carefully flip it over, and right here, if you happen to have a press available, you can certainly put it into the press. We are definitely going to do that very soon. On the heat plate, let's set it to heat up to 190. Let it reach 190 and then count to 5. Do it, but don't remove the paper yet. Now that's it. The paper should only be removed after it cools down, so you don't end up with flaws in the mesh. You'll understand this better later on. I'm going to lower it here because it's reaching 190 degrees. I'll start to hold and press it down. You don't need to press too hard so you don't damage your heat plate. I'll count to 8 seconds in my head. You don't need to count out loud, just up to 8, right? I'm going to give it a little more distance forward. And if I want to buy a press to do this process, I can buy a press. But if you can't afford to buy a press, you can use a flat iron like this one that you don't use in the salon anymore, and you can do this process. Even if you have a press, keep doing it, always stretching it out. I went over it once. Now I'm going to do this here slowly to pause our screen. Now we just have to wait for it to cool down. Then we'll take it out and cut it. Whatever is sticking out. Now, our screen has now had ample time to cool down completely and thoroughly. Let's take a very careful and detailed look at the current state of our screen. You need to pull it out ever so slowly and gently, observing precisely how our screen is turning out, pulling it with extreme care and a delicate touch. It is absolutely crucial that you allow it to cool naturally and completely without any forced intervention, ensuring its integrity. Okay, now with great precision and care, let's proceed to meticulously remove our protective tape from the screen. Carefully and slowly peel off the masking tape. I then gently took off the very first one, ensuring no damage was done. Here you have to be really careful so you don't pull the hair and end up ripping the hair off with the tape. Always lift this little corner here because the paper gets stuck a bit inside. I don't know if you guys can see it. I don't really have nails, but here you just pull. Here's the tip. Now you just have to remove it. It's good to always pull to the side like this, pulling this way so it comes out from underneath the mesh. Done. The little hairs that come out are normal. They're the hairs that aren't attached to the mesh, right? They're a bit further away. Now let's remove the other side. And here we will proceed with great care and precision, meticulously removing every piece of our adhesive tape. It's crucial to ensure that this specific section of the white tape remains securely in its designated position, staying entirely inside the structure, as it serves an important function. We have to take everything off, we have to leave it clean. This part should be really black because a lot of glue was left there. You can cut here and make it really straight. Just be careful not to cut the hair. This part here is just glue. See as I go along? This part here is just glue. As you go, you can lower it here and cut just the glue, the excess glue. You just need to lower the comb here and lift up the excess glue. Notice that this part is thicker than this one, so you go here, put the comb in, lift it, and remove the excess glue. Cut this tip, cut the other tip. Now let's do the cleaning. With the paddle brush, comb our weft, remove the excess glue, excess loose hair, because this weft is a heat-activated weft since a type of glue is used. It's activated by heat. Every time you wash and dry the hair, it activates the glue more, and the glue gets firmer. The advantage is that it stays flexible and becomes waterproof. What does that mean? You use creams, right, like leave-in, shampoo, and conditioner. Moisturizing treatments don't get stuck at the base of the weft. It's much easier to wash and no kind of residue gets trapped, so it doesn't develop a bad smell. So this weft is really good. Another tip since we made a fold. With this weft, it gets a bit firmer for sewing, so you don't cut the weft. If the weft is too thin, thinner than this, and we didn't make that fold, what would happen? Our stitching, the thread itself, would go inside and cut the weft, and that's what causes the hair to come loose. That's why we have to make the fold, apply glue, then fold, sew it, and then apply glue again so it stays really firm. so it can withstand the stitching underneath the weft. I hope you learned something. If you have any questions, you can reach out to me for support.